I've never done this before, so bear with me. Yeah. I want to say this is my first experience with a relay, and I'm just blown away at what you've done here. This is awesome. Thank you. So, you know my name's Christy. I'm a survivor. I kind of think survivor makes me sound like I did something great or spectacular, and I was responsible for the outcome, but I wasn't. So here's my story. In May of '93, I had a partial hysterectomy. They left my ovaries because they looked good. So you probably know where I'm going with this. In May of '95, I had a mastectomy for stage 1 breast cancer. I was starting to hate May. The doctor said, "You have breast cancer, but it's good cancer." And I thought, that's funny. I didn't know there was a good cancer. It was ductal carcinoma in situ, non-invasive and isolated to the milk ducts. The protocol was a mastectomy with no chemo or radiation. I could have reconstruction done at the same time. Really? I would get a new improved replacement and a tummy tuck all before I woke up. Very cool. My husband did not see my enthusiasm. But then again, he didn't give birth to 2 enormous babies. The surgery went well and I had no problems afterward. So that was it. Case closed. Have a good life. Until July '97. I had made it past May. Thought I was home free. It was the 4th of July weekend. I was very nauseous and bloated and running a temp of around 102. I went to emergency where the doctor felt a mass in my lower left abdomen. And they ordered an ultrasound for the next morning. After the ultrasound, the tech said they'd like me back for the CT scan that afternoon. I went to my car and I sobbed. With my history of breast cancer, of course my thoughts were everywhere. Ovarian cancer, the silent killer. Nobody survives. I'll never see my kids graduate from college, but I did. I'll never see my children get married, and one has. And I'll never see my grandchildren. Well, I just have dogs right now, grandchildren. My doctor wanted to see us in her office after, oops, I might have skipped a page. No. My doctor wanted to see us in her office after the scan. Now I knew something must really be wrong because you just don't get that kind of service unless there's something really wrong. She explained I actually had a 12-centimeter mass on my left ovary. I was floored. How did I not know that this was growing inside of me? My CA-125, which is supposed to be 0 to 34, was 1,721. I was unconsolable. Waiting the 2 weeks to see the oncologist was unbearable. It was the biggest emotional roller coaster of my life. Of course, I had no diagnosis yet, but I knew. How could I not know? When the surgery results came in, I had a diagnosis. I had stage 3A ovarian cancer. My oncologist explained, statistically speaking, there was a 60% chance of recurrence in the first year. Survival rate for women with stage 3A ovarian cancer is generally 5 years from onset. I remember that was in '97. I would have 6 rounds of chemo, drugs of choice, Taxol and cisplatin. Taxol would make me lose my hair and cisplatin would make me sicker than I've ever been in my life. She was right on both counts. And I couldn't think of anything funny to say at that point. It suddenly felt like a sentencing and my life was no longer in my control. Her lips were moving, but I didn't hear anything after that. I had so much support from my incredible family and friends. My husband's job was very demanding and both of our kids were in college, so when they couldn't be there, my mom and dad were. All our lives were consumed with this thing. My illness took its toll on my parents. My dad suffered a heart attack, and my mom was experiencing early signs of Parkinson's disease. And during that time, she had breast cancer also. She kept it to herself because I was her focus. That's what a caregiver does. They ignore their own physical ailments for the needs of their loved one. My dad selfishly cared for my mom at home until her death in December of 2009. He never really stopped grieving, but it seemed like he was starting to enjoy himself again when he fell ill about a year later. Dad never complained. He was the perfect patient. He would go to the doctor. They would prescribe pills. He would take them. He did everything the doctors told him to, and he never questioned them. He also went undiagnosed longer than he should have. To make sure that we got answers, my sister and I took turns sitting at the hospital with him. We got answers. It was discovered that he had several masses in his liver. Biopsies showed he had stage 4 urothelial cancer, which had already spread to his liver. He still wanted treatment. In his own words, he said, "Well, I'm not just going to give up." He was 86 years old. But he didn't tolerate the chemo. My sister took a leave from work and my brother came home from Florida to help, because that's what caregivers do. My husband and I were there every chance we got when we weren't working or planning for our daughter's upcoming wedding. We all shared in this time. His disease spread quickly. He fought it harder than anything I've ever seen before. He intended to be there for his grandson's graduation in May and his granddaughter, our daughter's wedding in June. And on July 5th, 2011, he lost his battle to cancer. I have to say, that was harder for me than what I went through. So when I was diagnosed the second time with cancer, I asked myself, why? Why me? And when I survived stage 3A ovarian cancer, when most do not, I asked myself, why? Why me? I thought there was supposed to be some huge reason. Something was supposed to present itself to me, but it hadn't. I find that it comes to me in special moments and meetings with others who suffered or are suffering. It's in the fact that my mother could not bear to lose her daughter before she passed. It's the woman who saw my survivor tattoo and said my story gave her hope. It's in every day that I might share my story and be of some comfort to someone who is suffering or caring for a loved one. It's in all the shining stars who've passed and those of us who are still on earth. And I thank God every day that I'm here. It's because on June 9th, 2012, almost 15 years later, I stand before you and share my story of which I'm the star, a story of hope. And after 2 years and no recurrences of my disease, I asked my doctor if I was cured, to which she replied, "Ask me in 3 years." Last year I asked her if I was cured, to which she replied, "times 3."